Hey everyone, this is Mr. Estrada, and today we're going to solve some of the problems in 5.1. So please follow along as I show you guys how to solve each of these problems. So for the first one, it says write the ratio as a fraction in simplest form. So that's pretty easy to do. First of all, let's write the ratio as a fraction. It says 8 to 14, and the way we write that is simply 8 over 14, and there's our fraction. Now what we need to do is simplify the fraction, and all we do is simply set it up as an equal sign, and we need to figure out what number goes into both 8 and 14. In other words, what can both 8 and 14 be divided by? Well, hopefully you guys are already seeing that these numbers are even, so the easiest number and the obvious one right now is 2. So we are going to divide both the top and the bottom by 2. And once we do that, we will simplify the ratio here, and it will come down to be 4 over 7. So therefore, our ratio now, we can either leave it as 4 over 7, or we can write it as 4 to 7. Okay, and that's the answer for number 1. All right, guys, and now we are going to try number 2, and once again, we're going to write it as a fraction and then reduce it to its simplest form. And so let's go ahead and get started. So let's write it as a fraction, 36 even to 12 odd. We will write that 36 over 12. All right. And now, once again, we're going to reduce that fraction to its simplest form. Don't worry about the fact that it is an improper fraction. We're going to leave it as a fraction for now because we're dealing with ratios. So again, we need to think inside of our heads what number goes both into 12 and 36. So hopefully you guys know your times tables by now, and you can see that 12 is the number that goes into both of them. 12 goes into 12, and 12 does go into 36. So this time we are going to divide by 12. We're dividing the top and the bottom by 12. 12 divided by 12 gives us 1. And then 36 divided by 12 gives us 3. Therefore, our fraction is 3 over 1. And our ratio now in simplest form would be 3 even dot and 1 odd. All right, and here we are. Now we're going to look at number 3. Once again, we're going to write it as a fraction. If you haven't done it yet, follow along. So here we go, 42 vanilla to 8 chocolate. So we have 42 over 48. Okay, we wrote it as a fraction, and now we are going to simplify it and think to ourselves what number goes both into 42 and 48. Can you think about that for a bit? All right, so the number that comes to my mind is 6. So we are going to divide both the top and the bottom by 6. All right. 42 divided by 6 gives us 7. And 48 divided by 6 gives us 8. Therefore, our new simplest form is 7/8. So now we have 7 vanilla, and I'll abbreviate now, to 8 chocolates. All right, and there's your answer for number 3. And welcome back, guys. Now we're going to do numbers 4, 5, and 6. And in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to find the unit rate, which means one of the units right here that we have. So in the first one, we have a rate of $2.50 for 5 ounces. So the question then is, how much is each ounce? So let's set up our unit rate table. So here is our table. On the top, we're going to put our dollars, and on the bottom, we're going to put the ounces. All right, so for every $2.50, we get 5 ounces. the question then is, how much is each ounce? So in order to find out what each ounce, we are going to simplify then to one, meaning unit, 1 unit. So 5 has now been reduced to 1, and we ask ourselves, what did we do to 5 to reduce it to 1? And obviously we divided it by 5. And you guys know the rule, whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So therefore we are going to divide $2.50 by 5, and that's going to give us then 50 cents. So what is our final unit rate? Well, we get 50 cents per ounce. So what does that mean? That means that 1 ounce will cost us 50 cents. And there's your answer for number 4. All right, and now let's look at number 5. Number 5 says 15 degrees in 2 hours. We want to find out how many degrees in 1 hour. So let's set up our table. Okay, on one side, on the top, we will put degrees, and we'll put D for degrees. And on the bottom, we will put H for hours. So how many degrees? 15 degrees every 2 hours. And now we're going to find out how many degrees in 1 hour, because again, they're asking for the unit rate. So in 1 hour, how many degrees? So we divide it by 2, because 2 divided by 2 gives us 1. And whatever we do to the bottom, we must do to the top. So we are going to divide the top by 2. Okay, it requires some quick math. 15 divided by 2 gives us 7.5. And we can write that as 7.5. 7.5 is the same thing. So therefore, our new unit rate would be 7.5 degrees. This is a symbol for degrees in 1 hour. Right? And there's your unit rate for number 5. And now let's look at number 6. Number 6 says 183 miles in 3 hours. So let's set up our table. On the top, we're going to have miles, and on the bottom, we're going to have hours. How many miles? Oh, 183 miles in 3 hours. Again, we want to reduce this to the unit rate, which is 1. Therefore, we need to turn the 3 into 1. So what did we do to 3 to turn it into 1? We divided by 3. And whatever we do to the bottom, we must do to the top. So therefore, we're going to divide the top by 3. And that gives us 61. So therefore, our new rate would be, or our unit rate would be 61 miles in 1 hour. Okay, and there's your unit rate for number 6. And now we're going to look at number 7 and number 8. And for this, these two problems, they're asking us to use the tables that they gave us to find the unit rates that they specify. So for example, number 7 should be pretty easy for you guys. It says pounds per box. So how many pounds in 1 box? Well, if we look at the table, we can see the answer already, which is 1 box has 30. All right, guys, so now let's work on number 8, which is a little bit more difficult than number 7. Number 7 was so easy because we were able to identify the unit rate because the unit rate was right there. So we knew that 1 box contained 30 pounds. In this case, though, we don't know how much each notebook costs because we see that it's an increment of 5, but we're missing the unit rate right there. So therefore, what we have to do is create our own box and see if we can figure out what the unit rate is. So in our box, we're going to use N for notebook, and on the bottom, we're going to use C for cost. So how much do 5 notebooks cost? Well, they cost us $9.45. Right? And the question then is, how much does one notebook cost? And now we need to just simply say, well, what do we do to 5 to turn it into a 1? And hopefully you guys already know this, and we divided it by 5. And whatever we do to the top, we have to do to the bottom in this case. Right? And if this is a little bit challenging for you, then you might need to work on the side and do your division right here on the side like I'm doing. Right? Remember to always carry your decimal unless you have to move it. In this case, we don't have to move it, so we can just start dividing. 5 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. I bring down the other 4. 5 goes into 44. 8 times 5 is 40. We bring down the 4 and we bring down the 5. 5 goes into 45 9 times. And since I have no remainder, that is my answer. So therefore, one notebook costs $1.89. So what is the cost per notebook? One notebook costs $1.89. Right? And there is your... All right, and let's look at the final problem here, number 9. It says you create 15 centerpieces for a party in 5 hours. The centerpieces are something that you would put in the middle of a table, flowers, vases, or something like that. So you're able to make 15 of those in 5 hours. The question is, what is the unit rate? So once again, we're going to use our table. So let's set up our table again and see if we can figure out what that unit rate is. So we have 15 center pieces in 5 hours. So we can say centerpieces in hours. And we know that 15 pieces in 5 hours. The unit rate, we get it by changing the hours to 1. We want to know how many centerpieces in 1 hour. And again, we divide by 5 because that's what we had to do to 5 to turn it into 1. Whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. 15 divided by 5 gives us 3. So therefore, your unit rate is 3 centerpieces, CP, per 1 hour. Okay, so there is your unit rate, and now they want to know how much it would take, or how long it would take you to make 42 centerpieces. So once again, we're going to use our table. On the top, we're going to use centerpieces, and on the bottom, we're going to use hours. So how many centerpieces can we make in 1 hour? Well, in 1 hour, we found out that we can make 3 centerpieces. So the question now is, how long will it take us to make 42 centerpieces? So in this case, we need to use a little bit of either division or multiplication to get from 3 to 42. So what did we do this time to 3 to turn it into 42? Well, in this case, we multiplied by 14. 3 times 14 gives us 42, and whatever we do to the top, we have to do to the bottom. Therefore, we have to multiply this by 14. So what does that give us? To make 42 centerpieces, it will take you 14 hours. 14 hours to make 42 centerpieces. And there's your answer for part B.